Hey guys, this is The Art of Prepping. Coming with a bonus video today on fuel. This is going to be alcohol-based fuels and that are commercially available and that are pre-packaged. This is for those individuals that don't have anything to do with, making their own stoves or buying the actual alcohol in bulk, such as if you were to buy denatured alcohol and just create your own. So for those individuals that don't mind the premium and they want the pre-packaged small forms that are already ready to go, there's different variations. This is three different types that are very much what you would consider pretty much the standard or very easy to find at most places, especially hardware stores and big box stores, especially stores that are specialized in camping and outdoors. Now, in terms of fuel sources, alcohol, comes in different forms and formats, if you will, with these brands, and they're all a little bit different. But let's just say that two of these are in a liquid form, and one of them is in a gel form. The one that's in the gel is going to be the Sterno, and it's pretty interesting though when you start looking at prices. I don't do these anymore. I don't get these anymore. These are from many years ago, many years. In fact, some of these are probably over 5-6 years ago. And I just recently looked at the prices. Excuse me. I looked at the prices and I was like, wow, this stuff has really gone up in price. And so like Sternos, for example, this 2-pack, these are the ones that use the gel fuel, the gel alcohol. And it's amazing because they're larger containers, but they don't have the same burn time as maybe a smaller container that uses just the liquid. So obviously there's less fuel in there because a lot of the bulk is taken up with the gel. And so what you have is like these Sternos. Now this is just in my area. I can't really speak for your area, but they're between $6 and $7 depending on where you shop. More towards $7, and that's not including tax or shipping. And so these Sternos, this is what they look like. They come in usually in 2-packs most of the time. And so this one, for example, is the 7-ounce, which is kind of their standard size. And if you see here, it says burns up to 2¼ hours, up to. So it's not even guaranteed to get that. If I remember correctly, when I used these years and years ago, when I first started out with prepping, I was thinking I was getting around 2 hours even usually. But I guess it just depends on your altitude as well, to how much oxygen that you get to this fuel source. So, in terms of the Sterno, that's 2¼ hours max, pretty much. Now, for around $7 for the 2-pack. So you got to think that's like $3.50 for that one canister, which is pretty freaking high. Now, this is something else that's alternative that people kind of, when they think out of the box a little bit, and this will be your best value, especially if you're talking about commercially found things, this is going to be like at Sam's Club, or I'm sure you can probably go to Costco. They might even have this at Walmart. I never looked. I just know that when I bought these years and years ago at Sam's Club, they were very inexpensive. When I bought these, they were like 50 cents each. Now, when I just checked just a few minutes ago, they were $1.25, and that's if you buy them in a big case or a multi-pack. And so I'm like, wow, I bought these individually for 50 cents. Of course, that was around 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, at least about 5 years ago at minimum. And these are 9.24 ounces. And just check this out. This is the kicker. Let's see where it says it. I just saw what I thought. Let's see, made in the USA, I believe. Yep. And oh, it's right in front of me. Okay, 6 hours. This is under chafing fuel. So this is the kind of fuel that goes under those heating pans for like catering and stuff. So the name is Bakers and Chefs. This is what you want to look for. It's called Safe Heat. Yes, 6 hours. They're $1.25 now, but $1.25 for 6 hours versus $3.50 for, if you're lucky, 2¼ hours, more like 2 hours. So, wow. Basically, you're getting some mega value here. I'm trying to do the math real quick in my head, but it's like literally like, what is that, like 6 times better value? Hold on here. Yeah, I guess I'm just doing the math in my head. Yeah, I think that's like 6 times better value to buy this Bakers and Chef Safe Heat because you get 3 times more longevity, okay, in terms of runtime off of beef, instead of the gel-based sterno, and it is about roughly 1/3 of the cost. So I do believe that kind of works out that way. So you can tell already this stuff is much better. The sterno is way overpriced. Of course, people are going to say, for safety though reasons, especially if you have kids, the sterno is going to be better. That could be possibly true. Especially if you have a lot of little kids that are very, very active, maybe the sterno. But you are paying a super premium. Let's just go to the third one. This is going to be your Coghlan's Camp Heat. They typically come in 2-packs, and these also use, of course, alcohol. And these come in the 6.4 ounce little cans. These are smaller than your sternos, and they run for 4 hours per can. So basically, I mean, roughly, it's like twice as much as the bigger sterno can. So if you can see a theme here, that the gel-based are just not as efficient, and they don't give you much. Now, this is 4 hours. And just to kind of compare size here, you get 2 more hours with this Safe Heat, but you can see the Safe Heat is quite a bit bigger. Now, in terms of the actual ounces and everything, it's pretty much the same, per runtime. You get about 2 more ounces with the Safe Heat. That's why you get about 2 more hours. But in general here, what you're seeing is that depending on your needs and your profile size, maybe all you need is one of these. This might be a good way to go instead of carrying this large. I mean, this is quite large. Getting close to, it's like 9.24 ounces. So you might want to go with something a little more compact. So the Coghlan's is definitely a good way to go. Now the cost on these roughly around $3 to $3.50, depending where you go for a 2-pack. Now that's not too bad. That really isn't that bad. Now in terms of looking at the actual best value though, biggest bang for the buck, obviously the Safe Heat is the way to go. Now if you wanted to make your own, you have your own little canister and you just want to fill it up with denatured alcohol, the average in my area is going to be anywhere from $3 to $3.50 per quart. Now if you do the math, and you kind of just roughly do a general math equation here, the Safe Heat comes out to be about $1 more per what you would call a quart versus if you bought the denatured. So you're basically paying $1 premium for this Safe Heat, this right here, the Bakers and Chefs, for that to be all in a container and done it for you. So if you want to save a little bit of money, you can go to your hardware store, or like I said before, like even like a Walmart or whatever, and usually in the do-it-yourself section or cleaning section, they typically have some kind of denatured alcohol, and so you can basically buy that, typically buy the quart, and you'll save a little bit of money. So if that's what you're into, then go for it. So let me just do the math in my head real quick. So what I was just thinking in my head, it's roughly between 20 and 30% cheaper just to go ahead and buy your own denatured alcohol than to go with the chafing fluid. It's astronomically more expensive. We said 6 times more than even the Safe Heat to get the sterno, and it's just incrementally more expensive to go with the Coghlan's than the Bakers and Chef's Safe Heat. But what we're looking at here is just 3 items that do work. I mean, I'm not knocking any of these. But they also have different price points. They also have different uses and sizes, and some of them come in different size packs, and it just depends. Now, the only thing I can say, though, from just storing these, and the area that I had these stored is a little bit humid, so it's not completely their fault, but and I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to tell you how many I have of these, but let's just say that I have more than one. And as you can see, there's no rust at all. So this must be some type of aluminum. I'm assuming it's an aluminum or some type of very, very resistant tin material from moisture. Also over here, the Coghlan's, I see no rust whatsoever. I think this is also possibly some type of alloy, or most likely it's aluminum. Now we come to the sterno, I just kind of noticed this. I'm glad I got these out to talk about them. The top here, just starting to have a little bit of rust. There's a little tiny spot here in the bottom, It's very hard to tell, but on the top you can definitely see that. So I think that there's actually maybe the steel lids and maybe a little bit of metal. Maybe this is not what it looks like. I kind of really thought this could be aluminum, but I think this might just be some type of metal. So just a heads up, I'm not for sure about any of this. I'm just saying from my observations, 2 out of the 3 are doing just fine with storage, and it's just the sterno. So I'm not sure why that is. But my hypothesis is that it's probably made out of a different material, probably some kind of light gauge steel or, stamped metal. So these are just options here, the Coghlan, sterno, and Bakers and Chef Safe Heat. Depending on which one you want and your format and the price you want to pay, there you go. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this bonus video today. And if you have any different types of camping, heat sources that are alcohol-based that you would like to share as well, any other brands, and outside, of course, making your own, because that could be a whole nother video. This is just pre-made stuff, just for newbies and for people who have no interest on making their own. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of people who will say, hey, if I can't buy it already pre-made, I don't want it. And so unfortunately, though, I'm trying to just show people the options there if that's how you're going to be. But overall, though, you need to be a little more flexible. And I personally would hope that over time you would be aware that if you can get more for your money, why not? And that's kind of the whole point of a lot of these videos, is that you can sometimes get so much more value just by being a little bit more ingenious in terms of being adaptable. It's just like you can go and buy beans and rice in small containers, but what you'll notice, especially if you go to the dollar store, you pay a super high premium for beans and rice. So many people say, well, look at all this stuff I got for $1. Yeah, but you could have gotten maybe 50 to 100% more if you simply went on sale or just went to other places and got maybe the 3 or 5 pound bag, or God forbid if you ever went to Sam's or Costco and bought the 25 pound cube of rice, and maybe the 20 pound or 5 pound or whatever it is available in your area of rice, and I'm sorry, of beans, and you can dramatically cut costs. And so people don't think about that. People don't even want to. They don't want to think about it. Everybody wants to think that they got a good deal, and it's all about psychology, I believe. And so I'm just trying to show you 3 options that I bought a while back. There's still options that are usable. There's still options that are valid. But the further you get into prepping and you start looking at heat sources for cooking in particular, because these don't make probably the best light sources by any means. This is just kind of warming food up, cooking food, and if you really had to in a pinch, boil some water. This is the kind of stuff, though, that really is kind of the entry-level stuff. This is for beginners. Some intermediate preppers still deal with some of this. If it's just, convenience factor, they might have a few around. I'm not saying that I have regrets for buying the amount that I did, and I'm not saying that I bought a lot or didn't buy a lot. But whatever I did do, it's okay, because you kind of live and learn. And at least I have a lot of individual containers now. And, so sometimes you can also, when you go to catering parties or places that they have catering, and at the end of the night, they have like a lot of these chaffing fuel containers, and a lot of times they're like half full still, and they'll just want to toss them because they don't want to deal full with the mess, and they need a full one for the next job. They don't want to have to guess if they're going to run out of heat to keep their food warm. I have personally collected quite a few that have anywhere from a quarter full to over a half full, and you can just basically drain these and pour them into other containers and fill them up and then close the top. And you got basically a lot of free fuel. And so don't be afraid, especially on very large catering jobs, to go up to people and say, especially if it's toward the end of the day and they're starting to pack up, hey, do you still need that old chaffing fuel? It looks like, you probably just going to throw it out. And a lot of times they'll say, yeah, we are going to probably throw it out. We're not going to even mess with it because they probably made enough profit not to even worry about skimping on trying to pour the fuel and, all that stuff into other containers and maximize everything. So don't be afraid to go up there and say, hey, can I have those? and I wouldn't go ahead and start pouring the containers into each other and try to do it right then and there. I just get you a cardboard box or a bag, put them in there, and then go to your home, and then do all that, so that it's not so obvious, and so that you're not making a scene or anything. But so these are just some tips here about cooking fuels. The Coghlan's calls it camp heat, the Sternos call it cooking fuel, and the Bakers and Chefs calls it safe heat. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll catch you real soon.